Containers are changing the way that we develop, test, and deploy software, making it faster for us to test and deploy and experiment with these new features and capabilities.
We built AWS App Mesh that makes use of the Envoy sidecar capabilities to now give you a complete view of the network, where you can have one consistent mechanism between the communication for all of the different components that now live in your distributed system.
Today, I'm excited to announce AWS Fargate, which allows you to run containers without having to manage servers or clusters.
Because Fargate does it for us. Fargate helped us win customers.
A new service called the Amazon Elastic Container Service for Kubernetes, EKS. This makes running Kubernetes as a managed service on top of AWS much, much easier.
The Amazon EC2 Container Service. A highly scalable, high-performance container management service.
Moving to containers, if you have not done it, do it. It will simplify your life quite a bit.
When deploying changes to applications, developers want to introduce updates quickly yet safely. To accomplish this, teams either deploy new versions of their application code or make application configuration changes and may have to restart their apps for the changes to take effect. Code deployments can be time-consuming, and even a simple configuration change may cause customer impact or even outages. AWS AppConfig makes it easy to dynamically roll out application configuration changes in a validated, controlled, and monitored way. Developers can deploy code first, and then, with AWS AppConfig, they can release new functionality by toggling a feature flag, independent of the code deployment. Likewise, DevOps engineers can tune their applications to cope with operational events. AWS AppConfig enables you to create configurations in any format that works best for you. Centrally manage your feature flags, operational flags, or any configuration data you might want to change at app runtime. AWS AppConfig also allows you to validate configuration data prior to deployment. Adding validation logic ensures your data is free of syntactic and semantic errors, thus mitigating the risk of outages. Another benefit of AWS AppConfig is deployment and monitoring. Roll out the validated configuration changes instantly or gradually. AWS AppConfig can monitor the deployment and automatically roll back changes if errors occur, minimizing impact to your customers. Whether you're releasing new features or are responding to operational events, use AWS AppConfig for safety, speed, and simplicity.
Good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of the Community Ignite series. Build and operate containers apps with AWS Copilot.
My name is Tony Prakoso. You can call me Tony. I'm an AWS Senior Developer Advocate for us. And when we build application, there are a couple of parts that we need to integrate in order to have our apps run properly. So your application will be packaged along with dependencies, runtime engine, and the configuration. And Docker, as a container platform, acts as an intermediary between your containers and the operating system. So Build will build the container image, but this is going to reside in our development environment, which is on our local. Now, the next thing that we need to do is to push the image into a centralized repository. If you're running containers, you can use Amazon ECS, and it's a really great option for you as ECS is used extensively within Amazon to power services.
So thank you so much again to Amazon Web Services and AWS Siglab Pilipinas.
Developers want to write code and build applications, but the time spent preparing and managing infrastructure limits their productivity. AWS App Runner makes it easy for developers to run web applications at scale with no prior AWS experience required. Begin with your source code or a container image. Then, App Runner will automatically build and deploy the web application, scale the infrastructure needed, and load balanced traffic with end-to-end encryption. In just a few clicks, you can build and run applications while App Runner takes care of runtime configuration, networking, load balancing, and integration with your deployment pipeline, empowering you to spend more time focusing on your work. App Runner also makes scalability simple and cost-effective. It seamlessly scales up resources in response to your traffic and automatically scales down when there's reduced activity. You'll save time because the resources and infrastructure components are fully managed and integrated with AWS security and operational best practices. AWS App Runner delivers an easy and convenient developer experience for running web applications. Learn more today.
As a woman, the first time I really knew I could create a great career and life for myself was when I started training for my AWS certification. I knew there was more I could do, more that I was capable of, and a better life to live. It was the same excitement I felt when I moved from my hometown to Johannesburg for the first time. Back then, I transformed my life by becoming the first female AWS developer advocate in Africa. Today, I'm helping others transform their lives too.
Welcome to the 25th episode of the Community Ignite series titled Reduce Downtime Through Operational Visibility in Your Applications.
In my 7 years experience, building apps, maintaining applications, it's actually a good problem that you're experiencing downtime, in a sense that people are visiting your website. You don't start with the tools. You start with what does the business need, what matters to the business, and how can you help the business in those objectives. All industries need servers to be up and running. CloudWatch is a very central part of your life in AWS. Actually, I check CloudWatch at least 5 times every day, working across many industry verticals na iba-iba. Like meron ako e-commerce, meron ako retail, etc. Lahat yan CloudWatch, lahat sila gumagamit. So it's parang backbone siya ng AWS journey niyo.
This event is for free and it also comes with an e-certificate, and this is presented by Amazon Web Services and AWS Tech Lab Pilipinas.
Welcome to AWS Educate's Cloud Career Pathway. AWS Educate helps you create a pathway into innovative and lucrative opportunities in the rapidly expanding cloud industry. On AWS Educate, you will discover the skills necessary to advance into cloud careers, explore content, test your knowledge, seek micro-credentials as badges and certificates of completion, and even have the opportunity to apply for jobs and internships in the cloud. Start off by building your profile, adding your resume, classes, degrees attained, and other facets of your experience. Then, select a cloud career field. From there, we'll personalize your plan by providing content that matches your pathway. As you consume that content, we'll prompt you to take knowledge checks of 3 to 5 questions in order to gauge your comprehension. After you've completed 50% of the knowledge checks, you'll have a chance to earn an AWS Educate badge. Then, up-level your profile by completing a project and a final assessment, and you can receive an AWS Educate Certificate of Completion. Take applicable courses at your school or online to grow your knowledge and fill gaps in your skill set. All of these achievements can be added into your portfolio. Then put it all together. Apply for a job or internship at Amazon or at one of our customers or partners through the AWS Educate Job Board. Download your portfolio and send it to your potential employer to get your ideal job in the cloud. So what are you waiting for? Start your career pathway today.
Good evening and a happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the 27th episode of the Community Ignite series, Building Modern Apps with Containers. I am your host for tonight, Dara David, a Technical Community Manager of Edukasyon.ph. Okay, and wow, I'm so happy to be with you guys today. So thank you for taking the time to attend this free 1-hour tech-driven webinar. And before we continue, I just want to know, kamusta naman kayo, guys? So if you're a student, let me know what university you're from. Pag professional naman, type your career in the chat box. I would also like to greet din our FB Live viewers. So comment nyo din, di ba? Pakilala rin kayo. And don't forget to share rin sa inyong timeline yung FB Live. So I hope everyone's having a good time. dahil malapit na ang Valentine's Day. Are you guys excited to celebrate Valentine's Day? What are your plans on February 14? No, let me know in the chat box. Ako, mukhang onti pa lang ang gusto magpakilala sa chat box. Yan, hello kay Denver, kay Mark from Occidental Mindoro State College, kay John, kay Ciara. Hello! Actually guys, ang dami kong pupuntahan this Valentine's. Pupunta ako sa banyo, sa kitchen, living room, sa porch namin, tapos magko-cold lang ako the whole day. Oh, pack! Perfect date, right? So, if you're new here, Community Ignite series are short episodes every Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. It's where we bring people, product, and purpose together. So you, as a young IT professional or early in your career, or just a young at heart or starting in the tech industry, you will definitely benefit from this series, especially that this is co-presented by Amazon Web Services and AWS Club Pilipinas. Ayan. So this event is all for free and also comes up with an e-certificate. And in the previous episode, the topic was all about machine learning workflows with SageMaker pipelines. So you can check all about it on our social media accounts. So make sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn to stay updated. Search lang AWS Club Pilipinas or scan the QR code flashed on the screen. Am I right? Nandito ako sa left. Ayan. Ayan, okay, let's read more comments. So, hi, Joshua from Beacon University. Hi, Ricky. Hi, Kirk. Hi, Jackiem. All right. Hi, John. Ayan. All right. Okay. All right. Hi, Audrey. Ayan. Hello. Hi, everyone. It's so nice meeting you all. And all right, I'm definitely excited for this episode because our speaker for tonight is a senior developer advocate at AWS. He's also a software engineer, self-proclaimed barista, and a cafe racer enthusiast. He is now focusing on helping the developers to understand varieties of technologies to transform their ideas into execution. He loves coffee and any discussion of any topics from microservices to AI or ML. So coming back for more exciting lessons to teach you is Sir Donnie Pracoso. Hello, Sir Donnie. How are you tonight? Do you have any plans for Valentine's Day? I would just like to ask that before I give the mic to you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hello, Darla. Hello, everyone. That's a really good question. Valentine's Day is still on 14th February, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still have time. So I don't have any plans yet, but I know that I'm going to spend my time with my family.
Yeah,
Probably just hanging
celebrating,
out.
and expressing their love for the
Yes,
family.
definitely.
All right, sir, take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen? All good?
Yep, all good.
Awesome. Woo. All right. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this meetup and welcome to this session. I'm super happy to be here again and share with you on how you can build applications with AWS. And this session is going to be a continuation of what we have discussed last year when I delivered about containers and also with AWS Copilot. And this time we're going to dive deeper on how that we could build modern application. What is modern application actually, and why do we need to take modern approach on developing apps? And how does it relate to containers and how to run container-based application with AWS services? So I do understand that most of you are just getting started with developing. Some of you still students and you are still learning on how to build stuff with AWS technologies. So this session is perfect for you beginners, and I designed this session for those of you who are just starting out on journey with containers and looking for solution how to run containers on AWS. And with that being said, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box below. I'll try my best to address your question. I'll try to be more interactive in this session. And I'm really looking forward to your feedback so I could improve the content that I'm going to create for all of you. All right. Okay, so a quick introduction of myself. My name is Tony Prakoso. I'm a AWS Senior Developer Advocate covering for ASEAN. So I'm managing 9 countries in the region. And for the past 17 years, I've been building services and solutions for various industries, ranging from banking, telecommunication to startups. Especially for startups, before I joined AWS, I was a technical advisor for several startups in various verticals, such as media entertainment, e-commerce, digital agency, and machine learning-based startups. Most of them were based in Southeast Asia, and few of them were based in Europe. And my specialization is microservices, is architecture, event-driven architecture, and also related to containers and serverless. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you the presentation for today, which is related to containers. And if at some point you have questions related to those areas, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and Twitter. And also, I am starting to create the video content on YouTube. I'm going to put all things related to API, containers, serverless functions, and all of those solutions on the YouTube. So if you want to know more and learn more about these technologies, just go to my YouTube channel. You can go to go.tony.id/YouTube and you'll be on the right page. Right. Okay, so after the session, these are the key takeaways. You will have a good understanding on why we need to build with modern approach. And you will also understand essential services on AWS. You will be able to identify which service that you can use for your development workflow. And this session will also help you to understand what is orchestrator, what is Kubernetes. Should you use Amazon EKS for Kubernetes, or you can use Amazon ECS to deploy your application? You will also understand how to use AWS Copilot to deploy and operate your application into Amazon ECS and AWS Fargate. And if we still have time, I will show you how you can implement CI/CD easily. I will take you through a step-by-step demos so you know how to deploy a container from your local development into a production-ready environment. So many fun stuff today. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing first, why are we here today? The main theme for today's session is building modern application. And when I had the discussion with Acha prior to the event, I came across a question that I asked to myself of what and why do we need to build with modern application? What does constitute a modern application? So this is something that I would like to address in this session, because you're going to hear of these terminologies a lot when you do your learning about new technologies, not only for AWS, but technologies in general. So in a nutshell, modern application is a combination of various areas. The first element is modern technologies, and this includes containers, serverless. And the second element is the architecture on how that we combine all the technologies into a system, how that we can mix and match those services into a right architecture and how they can coordinate one to another. The third element is software delivery practices. This is where CI/CD falls in. Basically, it's how that we can shape our application. And the fourth element is the operational processes. And this means how we keep track of everything so it runs properly. And you probably asking about, does a DevOps also categorized as a modern application? So DevOps is actually part of software delivery practices and operational processes. So it's already imbued into this approach as well. And the goal of modern application is to improve how we deliver values to our customers or stakeholders who use our application. And diving deeper into the goal of modern application, the ultimate goal, as I mentioned, is to deliver value for customers. And we are living in different era compared to what we had before cloud computing. All of us, including you, we are witnessing a paradigm shift because many organizations want to win more customers. And how to do that? To win customers, they need to build better products. And to build up better products, they need to release features faster. And to have to be able to release a feature faster, to be able to understand which features that we need to release, they require to do more experiment and innovation. They also need the ability to focus on differentiating business logic and to decouple software for speed and safety. So we no longer live in a world with a single database or architectural option. So with the modern application approach, we need to offload the undifferentiated pieces, choose the right tool for the right job, and automate everything. By doing so, you can build modern applications that allow you to win customers. Okay, so not only modernization addresses those issues, but it also hits at the root cause, a development culture that prevented us from doing our best work. So what you see on the screen, all of these elements, there are actually some common challenges and the outcomes experienced by customers and developers during their modernization journey. We can automate away tedious work and deliver faster. Deploys go from days and weeks to minutes, and that means to shortening your time to market. We can remove overhead by using consistent tooling and processes to do more than just keep the lights out. Deploys are no longer manual, and that means it frees up the talent and resources to focus on other activities. We can also build security into software development processes and operational activities, so it's not bolted as an afterthought, right? Your security footprints follow best practices, is no longer ad hoc, and its management strings. And we as developers have the full visibility into the application in production and can contribute to its evolution proactively. From the technical perspective, these are great stuff. It surely improves our workflow, our day-to-day activities, and making it easier for us. And containers, as one of the modern technology, it can help us to manage all of these challenges. All right. So let's talk about containers. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box and I'll try to address them when the slides is still relevant to your questions. All right. Okay, so let's talk about containers, and hopefully after this, you will understand why many developers prefer to use containers, especially Docker, as is the most adopted container engine. So when we build application, there are a couple of parts that we need to integrate in order to have our application runs properly. The first thing that we need is a runtime engine for our application. For example, if you are compiling your application to run in Go language, of course you need to use the you can use the binary that's suitable for your running system. If you use Node.js, that means that you need to use the Node.js runtime engine into the container. If you use Python, that's also the same, that you need to have this Python runtime engine into the container, right? Then your application source code. In most use cases, when you are doing application development, most likely you are using libraries and other components. And these libraries and other components are dependencies. And the last one that we need is actually the system packages and also the configuration. Especially for configuration, when we are developing an application, configuration is often used to store several different variables that we need to pass to a certain environment. And in this context, containers can help us to solve this problem. So Docker is one of a container engine and platform that can help run applications by abstracting away the operating system. So the way it works is that your application will be packaged along with dependencies, runtime engine, and configuration. And Docker, as a container platform, acts as an intermediary between your containers, your application, and the operating system. So containers and Docker make application development flexible so that you can run containers in any kind of environment. In short, you package the runtime engine, dependencies, configuration, code, and everything related becomes a container image, which Docker will then run in various environments. So it's really great, isn't it? Because yeah, it is. It's super nice. And In the context of several different environments, now we can abstract that environment with Docker, where it will run our application. So in other words, if I build an application and I've packaged it with containers, in this case with Docker, I can run the application either on my laptop, staging, production, or even on premises. Right. So does anyone of you already played with containers before? If you have, let me know in the comment. If most of you haven't, oh, Kurt mentioned he already done developing with containers. If most of you haven't played with containers before, I will be more than glad to show you what the container looks like and what the container images looks like. All right. Okay, so running a single container is easy. If you have played with Docker, what you can do in your laptop or your any kind of development machine, you can just execute Docker run. But in reality, to serve many requests from customers, we often need to deploy more than one container because it's not sufficient only to have one application, one containerized applications running in your laptop or local development. And when it comes to running containers in production, it could be really hard. You need to deploy tens, hundreds, or thousands of containerized applications that we need to deploy. And this is very relevant to the current conditions, where in general, organizations and developers are moving to adopt microservices. And when it comes to microservices architecture, it consists of a variety of services. So we're not talking only one service, but probably hundreds of them. Nice. I saw that you just shared GitHub link. I will take a look. These are two things to emphasize in a situation like this to run production in to run containers application in production. The first thing that you need is that you need to have a mechanism for fast scaling from 1 or 2 containers to 100 containers in a short period of time. The second thing is that you need to know and place where the containers will be allocated in your infrastructure resources. And of course, that's something that you cannot do that manually. And the answer to both of these challenges is a tool that you can automate your container within the set of resources that you have. And the tool is called container orchestrators. So Docker Swarm and Kubernetes are those two major container orchestrators that we can use to deploy our application. And when it comes to AWS services, these are the services that you can use to run your containers applications. And this is actually the right transition for us to take you to the next segment. So in this segment, I'm going to have a bit pause and also just want to share with you a couple of services that you can use and also probably sharing with you how it looks like. Yeah. So we have 3 layers here, right? The first one is that we have management layer. So on management layer, we have container orchestrators. So the container orchestrators task is to help us to deploy and manage the lifecycle of our containers application. First, we have Amazon ECS for you who wants to deploy and operate your container apps. We also have EKS if Kubernetes is your preferred flavor. And you also have 2 options for hosting your containerized application. If you want to have granular control, you can use Amazon EC2. It gives you more control of your server clusters and provides a broader range of customization options. But if you want to focus more on your products and less on the operations, you can use AWS Fargate. AWS Fargate is a serverless containers. It's as easy as you have your app, you define the task configuration, and let Fargate run it. And Fargate has become the most preferred approach for developers to run the application because it's running on serverless mode. And that also means that it lets you focus on designing and building your application instead of managing the infrastructure. And lastly, it's Amazon ECR. It's the service that you can host your container image. Right? Okay, so let me pause it a bit and I just want to share with you on how those services that I mentioned looks like. So here we are at the Amazon ECS dashboard. You can see that I'm on the ECS dashboard, and this is how it looks like. We have a list of cluster, and let's say that I'm going to try to click on this one. Inside the cluster, we have what we call as services and tasks, and also instances and all of those metrics and other configuration. But the main two things in this dashboard is services and tasks. So task is actually where your containerized application run, and it's running in individually basis. And to group all of them together, we need to have like a logical grouping. We need to have service. So everything here that you see is running on Fargate. That means that everything here is running on serverless mode, and that frees me up from so I don't need to focus on managing infrastructure, because everything has been done by Amazon ECS and Fargate. And that's really cool, because I need to focus more on product and application and not necessarily managing the infrastructure. And this is the EKS. This is the Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service. And for you who wants to play with Kubernetes, this is something that you want to see as well. You can see that I have a couple of clusters here. And one thing that I really like about Amazon EKS is that it's using the upstream, which is the latest updated Kubernetes version. So you don't need to worry about the compatibility and stuff. And lastly, I would just like to mention about Amazon ECR. So when you package your application with Docker, you're going to have something what you call as container image. So the container image is actually a package set of your applications, dependencies, and your source code. But basically, this is your application. And to be able to for the ECS or even the EKS to grab your image, it needs to get it from one repository. And that repository is called Amazon ECR. It's a container image repository. So you build your image, and then it's going to push into this repository, which can be easily grabbed by Amazon ECS and EKS. All right. Okay, so that's a quick introduction about these services. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, I forgot something. At the end of the session, I'm going to pick a couple of questions that, and I'm going to give them away with $25 of AWS credits. So I'm going to pick the good questions. So you can start asking your questions now, and then I'm going to pick it up at the end of the session. All right. Okay. So in this session, I want to show you on how that you can get started easily with your container apps. So we're going to focus on simplicity, but still giving you the rich features and powerful ability of Amazon ECS. And we're going to integrate with AWS Fargate, serverless containers, so you can have more time and building your apps and not managing your infrastructure. But the first question is how to do that, right? Most of us, when we just get started learning about new technologies, it seems that there are so many things that we need to understand. Like what I mentioned to you on the Amazon ECS, we need to create tasks. Oh, wait. Do we need to create service first? Oh, wait. As actually that you need to create a task definition. And then, okay, so where does ECRs comes into the picture? So you probably have all of these questions, right? And not forget to mention that you also need to understand the best practices. And that's where AWS Copilot comes into the picture. AWS Copilot is a CLI tool that will greatly help you to get started with containers. Not only is the best tool for you to get started, but also give you the flexibility to extend your system. So let me show you some example. Let's say that you want to create a simple application. You want to create an API, or you want to create just a web application. And at some point, you want to extend your architecture into microservices or even
with the pub/sub communication. You can do everything with AWS Copilot. So if you're just getting started, you probably have all of these questions. How do I deploy application? How do I extend the system? How do I integrate with CI/CD? And the list goes on. And that's actually why AWS released AWS Copilot. So AWS Copilot is not a service. It's a command line interface, or CLI, that you can interact in your terminal, which enables you to quickly launch and easily manage containerized application on AWS. So what I like about AWS Copilot is that it's really simple. They have a declarative set of commands, and including guided experience built in to help you deploy your apps quickly. And one of the advantages of using Copilot is that all AWS best practices are embedded into this tool. So you can have scalable, reliable, and extensible applications with minimum efforts. So let's go to the demo. And in this next demo, you will learn how to first install AWS Copilot. The second one, how to initialize your first application, create environment, and deploy your API. Okay. So just a quick overview on what we're going to deploy for the first demo. What we're going to deploy is actually an API. So I do have an API, it's written in Go. And what I want to show it to you is the process on how that I could prepare everything until it gets deployed with AWS Copilot. Okay. All right. Okay, so now I'm at my application folder. I think I need to put it here. Okay, so it's actually written in Go language. And for this demo, you don't need to understand everything about the Go language or any kind of language that I use. I'm going to show you the basic process. So if you have any questions, please put them on the comment box below. I'm going to start by showing you the list of the folder that I have. So what I have is that there are two main folders. The first one is API and the other one is web. So what I'm going to show you is that in the first demo is to deploy the API first. Okay. Okay, so this is a simple application. It's which framework did I use? Oh, I'm using Gorilla Mux here, right? I'm using Gorilla Mux, really versatile tool. I really love it. And in this application, I have defined a configuration. You can see it here. Yeah. And I've marshaled this with YAML config. So if we go here, I actually have this configuration called config.yaml, right? See, it's just defined one variable, which is the application port, which states which port is currently running for this application. And this to show you that with Docker that we can package everything all together, not only the source code, but also the configuration. And this, let me go. Okay, so this applications has couple of endpoints. You can see that I have, I have two endpoints. The first one is API options with method get to get all the options, and API options with method post to get be able to put into the application. And I also have like a slash here is only for health check, and you can see everything here. I'm getting all the database with Amazon DynamoDB. See, I'm getting all the options from DynamoDB. So that means that I have a nice integration for my application with a DynamoDB. Now, the first thing first, when you want to package your application with Docker, is that you need to define a Docker file. So in this case, I've defined the base using Golang 1.15, and then I define the work directory here.
And then I use Go mode to manage my application. And I'm using multi-stage building in my Docker file. So it has a really nice and small binary that I can run in any kind of environment. So basically, this is a Docker file. This is all that you need to build your application into container image, right? All right, so that's a quick overview about the application. The next question is that, okay, but how do you deploy to Amazon ECS? Now, first thing before we go to the deploying, I just want to let you know that that you need to install the Copilot, and it's super easy to install Copilot. If you're using Mac or you're using Linux, you can just run brew install aws/tab/copilot CLI. And if you cannot use brew, you can actually go to this link, which I'm going to share with you later on, and then you can manually download and install it manually as well. Okay, so when I mention Copilot is CLI, this is how we interact with Copilot. You see that we have a couple of sorry, let me do it again. So we have a couple of options here that we can do initialization. We can open the Copilot docs, which is going to open a web page. We can develop the application using app, create an environment, create the service, job task, and so on. Even that you can define your CI/CD with Copilot. So the first thing first, if you want to initialize your project or your application with Copilot, what you need to do is run Copilot init. But with Copilot init, what it's going to create for you is actually a configurations and is going to provision all the resources that you need within your AWS account. So what it's going to do is that it's going to create the cloud formation, and then you can see that it created an infrastructure roles. So that means that Copilot now, once that it has created, it has everything that it needs to perform any kind of activities on behalf of your account, right? Now, once that you have defined your application, the next thing that you want to create is environment. So environment is in the simplest term, is where your application runs. So usually in the real life, we have a couple of environments. If we want to do testing, we have a test environment. But if we want to serve our customers, we need to have a production environment. And these environments, they need to be really separated. Why? Because if there's any failure on this side, it will not affect the other environments. Oh, I love your questions, Brian. When to choose EC2, ECS, or Fargate? And also role done, when it's best to use ECS versus EKS, and vice versa, other than being serverless. Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, so I think before we start, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to address those questions after I'm done with this demo. Okay, so how to create environment with Copilot? It's super easy. If you want to create environment with Copilot, you can just run Copilot and init. So it's going to run you like, what is your environment's name? And it will also ask you, hey, do you want to create a new separate and default configuration of networking? Or do you want to import from existing resources? So it's really nice because it provides you an options on how that you can achieve your objective. And if we go here, I've already created an environment. And if I do list, I have one environment is called test. And if I want to get the more detailed information about this particular environment, I just need to do Copilot env show. And it says that, hey, in this test environment, it's not a production. It's running on region episode is 1. It has 2 services live in this environment, which is API and also web, which is really nice because it gives me a quick overview on what are the services running in this particular environment. Right. And how about the application? once that you have the environment, that's good because you now have a home for your applications to live in. And to deploy your application, the first thing that you need to do is you need to do Copilot service init. So when you do the Copilot service init, it's going to ask you a couple of questions. What is the name? Like for example, test, and then couple of services, type that you want to run your application. It could be a load balance web service, backend service, or worker service. In most cases, you will going to need a load balance web service or backend service. Load balance web service means that your application is going to be served in front of load balancer, and it has a public IP. Backend service doesn't give you a public IP and is only to communicate internally within your system. So what's the difference? That means that with the load balance web service, you can access your applications publicly. But for backend service, it's only within the internal application. Okay. Now, the beauty about this Copilot, the beauty about this Copilot, after you've done Copilot service init, is going to create you. It's going to create you. It's going to create you a file within this folder. Let me clear this up for you. You can see there's a folder Copilot. This is generated by Copilot, not me. So it's going to give you a file called workspace, which is the default configuration of the application. And I have, it's going to create a name by service. In this case, I have two services deployed, which is API and web. But let's talk about API first. Okay, so for the API, we can see there's a file called manifest.yaml. And this is actually the magic behind Copilot. And what you see on the screen is a manifestation of infrastructure as code, or ISC. One of the best practices in DevOps is that you need to adopt ISC. So ISC means that when you provision your resources, when you create your application with AWS or any kind of other providers, actually, you don't need to manually click it one by one on the console. And that's not the best practice. The best practice is to build a configuration, or you can also use code to provision your resources. Why? Because with ISC, we can use that code to actually deploy or provision resources that we need for our application. So in case that you want to deploy 1 time or 10 times, it doesn't matter. It's going to give you a predictable and repeatable implementation of your resources by using ISC, or infrastructure as code. And what you see is the ISC generated by Copilot. You can see that the name of the service is API with the type load balance web service, right? And then you can also check the directive here, which is HTTP, which is API. And you can see that it's reference to API/Docker file, right? Running on port 8081 with CPU 256, memory half gigs. I only want to have 1 task, and I want to be able to running commands in my containers. And I can also define the environment variables. So basically, from this configuration is going to help Copilot to create the configuration for us. Okay. And once that you have that kind of manifest for your service, the next question is that, hey, but I do need to have integration with database. How can I do that? So if we go to the API folder here, you can see that we have an add-ons, right? These add-ons is actually a resources that you can add. You can just plug in your CloudFormation template, and it's going to be provisioned by AWS Copilot. But the other way, which is the easiest way, is that if you want to integrate with your database, you can just run storage, Copilot storage init. So
It's going to ask us which workload that you would like to associate with these storage resources and what kind of storage that you want to associate with. Do you want to use DynamoDB, or do you want to use, which is a NoSQL, or do you want to use Aurora Serverless, which is RDBMS, or do you want just to integrate with object storage, which is Amazon S3? So there are two ways on doing this. You can just run Copilot storage in it for DynamoDB, S3, and Aura Serverless, or you can also just plug in your CloudFormation template into that add-ons folder. And let's take a look into the add-ons folder. Okay, so you can see that these you can see that I have the AWS DynamoDB table, right? And then I have this all you can see, everything here is actually generated by AWS Copilot. So if your applications needs to have a database and you don't want to dwell with this kind of configuration, just use DynamoDB or Aurora Serverless. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do once that we have our manifest configured is that you just need to do Copilot service deploy. And what it's going to do is going to deploy the application. And then you might be asking, hey, how about the repository image that you mentioned using ECR? You don't need to do that. It's all going to be automatically covered by AWS Copilot. Okay, so but how about the permission and roles? You don't need to do that anymore because everything is going to be created by Copilot, including creating cluster, creating task definition, and also all those resources that you need to run your application. So that's why I mentioned that Copilot is super easy and it's super intuitive because it really speed up our development process. And once that has been deployed, oops, I can just run Copilot service show. You can see that I have, I can pick which service that I want to show the details. I want to get the details of API. And you can see that, hey, I have all of these details here. I have this environment URL. For a test environment, I have this URL. I have all these environment variables that I can use into my application, right? Which is really nice. And if I just copy this, oops, something wrong here. Yep. Okay, if I just go to this one, it's going to give me, options. It's going to give me a list of options that I can choose, which is going to get from the DynamoDB, right? So once that I have deployed the application, it's going to create me a cluster. Okay. I have too many applications, so I'm going to just list it down here. Okay, not this one. Oh, Lab Web 2 PDF. Oh, okay. So I think this is one of the cluster that I have. Let me check. Yeah, Copilot, this one. Yeah. So you can see that I have, so when you provision your application with Copilot, you can see everything in your Amazon ECS dashboard. And this is one of them. Okay. So that is how that you can deploy your application with Copilot. And do you have any? Okay, so we have two questions, but actually this I can address it with one answer. The question is when to choose EC2, ECS or Fargate and EKS and vice versa other than being serverless. So let's take it this way. If you have built your applications, and let's talk about serverless first. Serverless, Fargate is actually serverless as well, but probably what you want to ask is mentioning about AWS Lambda function.
So AWS Lambda function is really suitable for like a short time, short limited application. So if you have an application that is short limit, you can use AWS Lambda function. But most of the other use cases, it requires you to run a long running application, right? Like probably like a web apps, something that needs to run 24/7. And in that case, it's much more sense if you either using a serverless static website, if you can build, if it integrate nicely with your application, or you just use a web application package in container, like what I'm going to show you in the next demo, right? So it really depends on your use case. Now, but the most important question is that when to choose ECS or EKS. Now, for you who just getting started, I really recommend you to use Amazon ECS. The reason why, because it's really simple and it already embedded with best practice. Now, if you want to use EKS, with EKS, you can create a Kubernetes cluster within Amazon, within a AWS account. Now, Kubernetes has a quite steep learning curve compared to Amazon ECS. And from the past years, when I discussed this with many developers, most of them, they adopt Kubernetes because they need to have a governance, because they already have like a large teams and they need to have a standardized mechanism on deploying application. In that sense, it makes more sense to use Kubernetes, right? But if you're just getting started and you want to have a reliable container orchestrators, just use Amazon ECS. That makes it more easy. The next question is that when to use EC2 or Fargate? That's a good question. EC2, with EC2, you can have a nice granular control over your computing resources, right? With Fargate, you don't need to do any kind of infrastructure control because everything is running on serverless, right? Now, the question that you need to answer by yourself is that, do you need to have that granular control? Because if you do, that means that you also need to manage the infrastructure. You need to do your OS patching. You need to do quicker system updates, and you need to do all this extra work that you need to do to run your applications with Amazon ECS or even with Amazon EKS. But Fargate, it eliminates all the need for you to manage your infrastructure because everything is going to running in serverless mode. So you don't need to manage all of those tasks on your own. So that depends. If you want to have a granular control, use EC2. If you don't want to, just use Fargate. All right. Okay, so I only have a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to be really quick. And the next demo that I'm going to show you is that I'm going to integrate this API with the web application. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a web. It's going to talk with the API, and I can show you the URL for the web, so you can do a demo on your own. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is that I want to define the web application. So this is the web. Oops, my bad. I think I need to go. Search top proposal 14 app. Okay, now this is the web. Web is actually written with Go as well, right? It's not much different with the API. I'm using the index HTML. You can see here, right? You can see that I'm using just a normal HTML here. And then I also have the Docker file here. It's pretty much the same with the API. So when you want to create another service in your application, what you can do is just run Copilot service init again. So you need to go through all these the steps. It's going to ask you what's the name, what's the Docker file, and so on and so forth, right? And then what you need. Well, after you already initialize your Copilot, it's going to create you a manifest file as well. And you can see that we have it here as a manifest. See, it's now its name. Name is web, type is load balance web service, and the image is using web/docker file, which is different what we had previously, which is API/docker file. And once that you have deployed your application, your web service, what you can do next is just to do Copilot service show, and then I'm going to pick web. Yeah, so now we have this URL, which has already been integrated with the API. Oops. And then what I want to do next is just open the URL, right? Now I can see that it's running properly. Now I have a voting app. This is the interface, and it's actually integrated with the API. So if I just click here, it's really fast. It's going to integrate nicely and then store the data into the data in DynamoDB. So I'm going to share with all of you so you can test it on your own. There you go. And while that you are playing with the demo application that I just shared with you, I want to show you. Oops. Oh, okay. I want to show you the database that we have integrated nicely with AWS Copilot. Let me see. Oh, somebody wrote Visual Studio Code. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so you can see here, I'm on the DynamoDB. Okay, and then if I just find as Copilot, here you go. I can see the items. Okay, and then I can see that this is actually all the data that gone through our API. Right, and that's how you build your application with AWS Copilot. Okay, so now you know how to get started with AWS Copilot. And if you want to dive deeper into all AWS Copilot, if you want to implement some of microservices patterns, I really recommend you to go to copilot.rocks. So copilot.rocks is actually a website that I built to document my learnings on building stuff with AWS Copilot. So please do check it out. I've already some of the patterns is already detailed with all steps and in form of tutorial and also source code. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Thank you for your time. Hopefully the content and demos presented in this session help you understand containers offering from AWS and having fun building with AWS. And now it's Q&A time. I'm not sure if you have any questions. Okay, go on. I think I'm finished.
All right. Thank you so much for that insightful talk, Sir Donnie. All right. If you guys have more questions for Sir Donnie, I think we can entertain the last one from Nicole. How to stop AWS Fargate container programmatically? So I think that could be the last question.
Oh, that's a really good one. Okay, so the easiest way. I'm not sure what is your use case, but I just want to show you how that you can stop your AWS Fargate. So there are two ways on doing this, and the first one is that you can use CLI as always, and I just want to show you on how that you can do that with the dashboard. So as I mentioned that all those applications on ECS is running as a task. And this task is actually have a logical group called service. Now, one way to stop the task on AWS Fargate is that you can drain the task. But what I usually do is that I just go to services and then you click on update and you just put it as 0. So that way it's still safe for you to update. If you want to rerun your applications, you just need to update with a number of tasks again in the future. So I think that's my take. That is the safest way on how that you can stop your Fargate tasks with ECS.
Right.
I hope that helps.
All right. Thank you so much again, Sir Donnie. If you have more questions for him, you may reach out to him on his social media platforms. Thank you so much, Sir Donnie. You may close your camera and stop screen sharing. And of course, along with Community Ignite series, we also have more opportunities for free learning for you. So we have a lot of events that will suit your interests and fit the skills you want to learn. In fact, as cloud technologies continue to transform organizations rapidly, employees with the necessary cloud skills are also in high demand. We at Edukasyon.ph and AWS want to help you learn more and become a certified AWS cloud practitioner. So we offer cloud training bootcamps through specialized courses, and the training is open to students and educators for free. So you may check all about the event on our Facebook post soon for more information. You can register on or before at February 20, 2022 at go.edukasyon.ph AWS bootcamp. Again, that's go.edukasyon.ph/AWS bootcamp. And aside from the cloud training bootcamp, are you guys ready for the AWS Restart program here in the Philippines? So today, Edukasyon.ph is glad to be a part of the AWS Restart program in the Philippines. So what is AWS Restart? So AWS Restart is a 12-week virtual training program that covers fundamental AWS cloud skills as well as practical career skills such as interviewing and resume writing to help individuals prepare for an entry-level cloud roles. Wait. All right. So this program helps prepare unemployed and underemployed individuals for new careers in technology through scenario-based exercises, labs, and coursework. Students build Linux, Python, networking, security, and relational database skills. Linux pala, sorry. So with this, we are inviting you guys to enroll on this free AWS Restart program. You can apply on or before March 6, 2022 at go.edukasyon.ph/AWS Restart. And we also have a challenge for you. All right. Brought to you by Accenture Philippines and AWS Cloud Filipinas. We are inviting you to sign up for our Tech Explore Innovation Challenge. Now, here's a question for you guys. How might we use technologies like Amazon Web Services to help achieve any of the following UN Sustainable Development Goals? So that's what the event is all about. That's what the challenge is all about. And we can't wait for what you have as an answer. So for more details about this challenge, please visit this link right here. So I'm going to paste it on the chat box. There you go. And before I tell you guys all about the feedback form, I'm inviting you to more of our events this month. Okay, so for February 16, we have Introduction to CI/CD. And then we're going to have another episode of Community Ignite series on next Thursday. And then we have our next episode on February 24. And then the same time, we're going to have Getting Started with .NET with AWS. And for February 26, we're going to have an event with React.js Philippines. And then the time is to be announced. So you can check all about it on our social media accounts. So make sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn to stay updated. Search nyo lang AWS Cloud Filipinas or scan the QR code flash on the screen. Shing. And all right, grabe no, I have learned a lot from this 1-hour tech-driven webinar. Thank you so much, Sir Donnie Pacoso. And we hope that you learned a lot in this episode. So I want to take this opportunity to invite you all in a photo op. So open cam naman tayo dyan. Open cam muna tayo, guys. Wait, start video. There. Ayan. I'm gonna remove my... okay. I'm gonna go to the gallery view. Ayan, kasi naka-spotlight ako. Okay, guys, open your camera. Yes, my e-cert. If you answer the feedback form right there in the chat box, go.edukasyon.ph/CIS27 feedback. All right. Open your camera, guys. Let me see your faces, you know. Malay nyo, dito nyo mahanap yung Valentine's Day nyo, diba? Can start my cam. Wait.
I'm going to build an application to do this family photo.
That would be lovely. I'm excited to see that. All right,
You're going to
there
be the
you
first one
go.
to share. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna count to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, ready na dito makapag-picture. All right, guys, show your best smiles. 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3. All right, and that wraps up the 27th episode of the Community Ignite series, Building Modern Apps with Containers. We would love to hear your we would love to hear your feedback and to answer our CSAT form. Again, please go to go.edukasyon.ph/CAS27 feedback, and please make sure to provide a correct email address. This is also for you to get an e-certificate. And speaking of e-certificates, don't forget to post them, because by the end of the month, we will be choosing the top attendee of the month, the top attendee of February. And the winner will receive AWS credits worth $20. So again, no, compile your e-certificates this month, post it with the hashtag Edukasyon.ph and hashtag AWS Club Pilipinas any day this month, and we're gonna choose a winner. Of course, don't forget to tag us on the post. And again, thank you guys sa pagsubaybay sa amin. I am excited to see you all next week. Again, make sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter to stay updated. And don't forget to join the C Club community. So we have a lot in store for you. And that's all because of our co-presenters. Thank you, AWS and AWS C Club Pilipinas. And once again, thank you everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, Sir Donnie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
The power of the AWS cloud is within your grasp.
That's why we have chosen the AWS Essentials trainings to bring everyone on the same level of knowledge. So when we're talking about cloud, everyone has a basic understanding what is meant.
Whether you are just starting out or looking for ways to scale and speed up your success, you have a need for cloud skills. AWS Training and Certification has solutions for AWS customers and AWS partners, as well as the next generation of builders and leaders. Developed by the experts at AWS, our training resources help you advance in your career, building cloud skills on your team to innovate and achieve business goals.
We made sure to provide all types of training because, as you know, not all adult learners learn the same way. Some learners prefer instructor-led training, while others prefer self-paced.
No matter your role, we can help you gain in-demand cloud skills, both introductory and advanced, and validate your expertise with an AWS certification.
Preparing for the exam really reminded me the fun and enjoyment there is when it comes to education and self-learning.
Whether you're developing a new application or growing a business, AWS Training and Certification helps the builders of today and tomorrow leverage the power of the AWS cloud.